love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me.
Hello, Miami. Thank you so much for watching 305 Sports Now. I am your host, Will, and I just want to say before I start the show, I want to say a special congratulations to Inter Miami bringing home their first ever MLS Cup to the 305. Congratulations to Leo Messi. Congratulations to Jorge Mas and David Beckham for bringing a championship team and a championship to South FLA. Now, business at hand. It was a great weekend. Not only the Miami Dolphins stomped the Jets, but of course, your Miami Hurricanes have been selected to be in the college football playoffs. Yes, selected to be in the college football playoffs. They are the 10th seed. They'll be facing off against Texas A&M, all right, who's the 7th seed at College Station on December 20th. At the showdown will be at high noon. I'll do a much more further breakdown sometime next week. I do think it's going to be a great matchup having Marcel Reed and that very talented Texas A&M team take on your Miami Hurricanes. But first, I want to say one thing. The shocker was the fact that Notre Dame was left out. Right, Notre Dame is left out after being ahead of Miami for basically much of the bracketing. They've been left out, and Alabama, after having a subpar performance in the Iron Bowl against Auburn and getting shellacked by Georgia, where Georgia's basically steamrolled them the entire game, they still remain in the 9th spot facing off against Oklahoma, which is kind of interesting that they did that. But the first thing before I move on into the bracket itself, I do want to speak a little bit about Notre Dame. I do personally believe, I know I've trolled the Irish a bit through my shorts and a couple channels here and there, but the bottom line though, I don't think that Notre Dame should have lost their spot to Alabama. I think that Alabama, being the fact, if all things are fair, being the fact that Alabama hasn't looked good in the last couple of weeks and disastrously lost their championship game, I think Notre Dame should have been left in. But the Irish fans have not, and the Irish themselves have not done a good job of taking it, as they've decided to opt out of playing this year's bowl game, which, come on, guys, really, if you would have joined a conference, you probably wouldn't be in this predicament to begin with. You know, you probably would have won the ACC and just gotten in altogether if you were in the ACC in football or another conference that you happen to win, the Big 12, Big 10, whatever it is. But you decided to go independent, so you pretty much somewhat got penalized for it. But the bottom line is, though, being fair, if we're looking at optics and stuff like that, I do think Notre Dame, if you want to go by what's been going on in the rankings, Notre Dame should have been left in, and Alabama should have been the one to take, the seat back the same way they did with BYU. But speaking of brackets, I do want to go over the brackets a bit, all right, and I want to give my take on them as I share my screen with all of you. And the way it works, guys, and this was announced yesterday, happy day for the Miami Hurricane fans for Carson Beck. Congratulations to Mauro Cristobal, that whole coaching staff, of course, Carson Beck, Malachi Toney, Fletcher, Ruben Bate, all those guys, very well deserved. It was a very balanced season as far as things go. Last year's team was a lot of fun to watch with Cam Ward and that offense, but the defense was just so atrocious. This is a more balanced team. It's not as explosive on offense as it was last season, but it's still a very fun offense to watch, and the defense is definitely very entertaining, and I think it could compete with anybody on these brackets. Okay, so let's go first. It's going to be, the first one is going to be James Madison versus Oregon. The winner of that game faces off against Texas Tech, okay, in the Capital One Orange Bowl. The next bracket is going to be Alabama and Oklahoma. By the way, Alabama, I still feel should not be the 9th seed. They should have either dropped out or Miami should have leapfrogged them and should have played Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl, which is going to be played on December 19th at 8 p.m. on ABC. The winner of that game will take on the Kirk Cignetti, I wouldn't say Cinderella team because they were good last year, but what they consider the best story in college football right now, the Indiana Hoosiers, who are the number 1 seed at the moment. Then, of course, you have Tulane versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss does not get punished for Lane Kiffin taking the job over at LSU. They will face Tulane. The winner of that game takes on Georgia in the All-State Sugar Bowl. And, of course, your Miami Hurricanes will be taking on Texas A&M. High noon showdown, December 20th on ABC. The winner of that game takes on Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl on December 31st at 7:30 p.m. So good slate of games, right? Good slate of games coming up, right? I'm very much excited if Miami's able to move on and take it on Ohio State. That will be a fun matchup since we all know that a lot of the OSU fans don't like the fact that Miami fans keep saying that they stole the national championship or it was given to them. It wasn't really earned towards the end of that game. But the bottom line is, though, is that the brackets are set. Some feelings were hurt. A couple things I do want to address before I get into the comments by my buddy Classy Kane and why he thinks Miami was seeded the way they were seeded. I do want to say one thing. Going back to the whole Alabama thing and and the whole Notre Dame thing and Miami thing, the whole entire who's staying, who's going, who deserves to be there, and so on. I am really sorry. But James Madison and then Tulane, come on, guys, really? I mean, come on. Listen, Vanderbilt, Texas, and Notre Dame deserve to be in this 12-team bracket more so than those two teams on a talent level. I know you want to give the group of 5 team a bone, but two of them over Notre Dame, two of them over like a Vanderbilt. I was hearing Alex Donald speak about it on a show, Locked On Canes. Big shout out to him. And I think other people say it as well, that maybe it's time to tell the group of 5 team they need their own playoff system and they can get their own national championship as a group of 5 team. Much of the players who play a group of 5, when they hit the transfer portal, they're trying to go to Power 4 teams. Okay, so that's one of the things I do want to address. So I think that there needs to be some kind of an overhaul of the system. If you're going to have a 12-team playoff, you might want to tell the group of 5 team to kind of hey, listen, you might need your own system because let's be frank, if we're going by the eye test, the metrics, the strength of schedule, and so on, the Power 4 teams have a much tougher schedule than James Madison and Tulane. Let's be perfectly honest. I know that these teams occasionally get victories over Power 4 teams, but at this level of competition, I highly doubt that it would be a miracle that a James Madison or a Tulane is able to upset an Ole Miss or an Oregon that's just flat out balling right now. So, and on top of that, they're also the home team. So I just don't see that happening. So I think there needs to be somewhat of a change as far as the playoff system. Either expand it to 16 teams or give the group of 5 their own potential play for national championship. All right. So one of the things that I heard my buddy say on his show is that he thinks that the CFP pretty much set it up if Miami does make the college football playoffs and makes a run to basically face off against their greatest foe. Like, for example, like Ohio State, although Miami barely ever plays Ohio State, there's history between these two teams. Okay, there's the national championship back in 2002. And of course, on a lot of the recruiting wars that have gone on between Miami and Ohio State, Miami has flipped, some OSU players. And of course, there was the very, very hotly contested battle for pretty much blue chip wide receiver Jeremiah Smith, who basically it was either OSU or Miami for most of his recruitment. Even though he stuck with Ohio State for much of his commitment, he was teetering the idea of flipping to Miami. We all know that. So that's another storyline as well. So you take on Ohio State, and if you beat Ohio State, you have a potential matchup for a national championship with Oregon, which is Mario's old and former team. So the ratings, the eyeballs, and the storyline in and of itself is something that some may feel that the CFP might be wanting to look at, might be entertaining, or at least entertain that idea. Also, let's be honest too. Notre Dame does bring eyeballs to television screens, but so does Miami. Miami has been the recipient of some of the highest rated games this season as well. Like I think Miami and Notre Dame did very well. Florida and Miami did very well as far as ratings go as well. I think they're like either 1 and 2 or 1. I mean, it was a lot as far as the eyeballs go. So Miami does bring eyeballs to the screens. That's another reason why I do think the Hurricanes were put in as well. Not only that, there was also an outcry from a lot of voices that Miami should be in the playoff based upon the fact of the head-to-head. So I do think the committee felt that pressure from the media and even people like Nick Saban, Danny Canal, EJ Manuel as well. Some famous podcasters as well have been saying it. Heck, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, even mentioned it as well. So this is news that is pretty much gone very national. It's not just localized by podcasts like myself. There are some prominent guys that are respected within the broadcasting realm, and even in the games of BYU versus Texas Tech, and even in the SEC championship game, the talks about Miami being in the playoff game, and a playoff game was being mentioned as they needed to be in there based on the head-to-head, and on top of that, metrics as well alone were a big factor. So I think the committee did the right thing. I think it's gonna be a heck of a show on December 20th. Again, I will break that down. So that being said, go Canes. I'm very happy. It's all about the U. All right. So let's bring in a College Station. There's probably possibly going to be 100,000 people there. It's going to be fun. It's going to be electric. You have two teams that I think are very evenly matched. The favorite right now is A&M, which is basically a pick'em game. But I do think if Miami plays the kind of football they've been playing the last 4 weeks, Miami should be able, or at least has a chance to win this football game. A&M has not been that good lately, okay, with having to have a miracle comeback against South Carolina that's been struggling this season, and, of course, losing to Texas where they got ran all over, especially in the second half. Miami has a good opportunity to take advantage of that. But, again, it is 2 weeks of preparation, so we'll see what goes, and A&M is the home team, so can't take anything lightly. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say that this show is brought to you by the Pembroke Pines Fan Outfitters. Yes, with their best selections in Inter Miami. We just won the MLS Cup. Miami Hurricanes gear, Dolphins gear, Heat gear as well. Please go to Fan Outfitters, Pembroke Pines, the official sponsor of 305 Sports. Now, please ask for the manager, Anthony. He'll take very good care of you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for me. If you like what you heard, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to 305 Sports. Now, have a good one, guys. God bless. See you soon. Okay, it's all about the U. Congratulations, guys. Very well deserved. Thanks for a very memorable season. Bye-bye.